Dr. Robert Litvak, thank you very much for visiting UNC in Chapel Hill today. You're an expert in nuclear non-proliferation. Let me ask you a few questions. For example, Iran. How dangerous is the situation regarding Iran's nuclear weapons program today?
Well, Iran is developing the ability to enrich uranium, which means that it creates a hedge or a possibility to create a weapon. And the international negotiations with the P5+1, permanent members of the United Nations plus Germany, with Iran are focused on bounding or constraining Iran's uranium enrichment program so that the world can be assured that its civil nuclear program is not a masquerade for a weapons program.
And if Iran was able to develop a nuclear missile and was able to have nuclear weapons, would it really be that bad and that dangerous? Would the world come to an end?
Well, a concern is that since Iran is part of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, that if it acquires nuclear weapons and flouts its obligations, that it's a bad demonstration effect for other states. Other states in the Middle East region might react to an Iranian nuclear weapon. The focus of diplomacy is to bring Iran into compliance with the NPT, and Iran indeed says that it doesn't want a weapon. So the basis for an agreement is there. If there's a political will, I think these days, particularly in Tehran, to agree to a nuclear treaty.
So you are fairly optimistic that something will come out of it?
I'm really mixed view here, because it would require Iran's supreme leader, Khamenei, to agree to a nuclear agreement with the world's outside powers. And the nuclear issue is a proxy or a surrogate for Iran's relationship with the outside world, and therefore is a very loaded question for them.
Thank you. And what about North Korea? North Korea already has a nuclear weapon, or several nuclear weapons. How dangerous is that? Because so far, South Korea or Taiwan haven't been attacked.
Well, it's interesting that there's been debate about tipping points and whether if one more state acquires nuclear weapons, many other states would acquire nuclear weapons. That has been put to the test in Northeast Asia. North Korea tested, and Japan, South Korea, Taiwan have not responded with their own weapons programs. The concern in North Korea is that it's also pursuing the alternate highly enriched uranium route to nuclear weapons acquisition, and may be considerably augmenting its stockpile of fissile material that is weapons grade.
There's a danger that the country is going to break apart and dissolve into chaos. Is that a real danger, and will that have repercussions for the nuclear program of North Korea?
I mean, that would be a game changer, and I mean, implosion of the state is a possibility, and everyone talks about kind of regime collapse. But in a perverse way, the North Korean regime has been pretty resilient. I mean, it's sustained conditions that would bring down most governments, and it has coercive ability to maintain control over the society. But there's been a dynastic succession within the Kim family, and the grandson of Kim Il-sung, the founder of the state, does not have his personal stature or standing in the society. There's still a cult of personality around him, but it's hard to hand that type of authority down from generation to generation.
Thank you. Another volatile country is Pakistan. Pakistan has nuclear weapons, but Pakistan is also an ally of the United States. So are you less concerned about the nuclear weapons in the hands of the Pakistani?
Well, Pakistan is a society in crisis. Civil-military relations, sectarian frictions, and a country that became a nuclear weapons state in 1998 and now has on the order of 200 nuclear weapons. And a worrisome trend is their move into tactical nuclear weapons, battlefield weapons. And that creates the possibility of inadvertent use or even theft, and through theft, acquisition by a non-state actor or terrorist group. So it's extremely worrisome, and it's striking how little attention Pakistan gets in the American debate relative to Iran.
Are you concerned that the Pakistani nuclear weapons are not secure as they are?
That's been the perennial concern about Pakistan since it became a nuclear weapon state. The Pakistani leadership, of course, has offered sort of pro forma assurances that their safeguards are adequate. But when one reads about episodes in which there have been mutinies within military units and the rise of Islamists within the ruling establishment, potentially including the nuclear establishment, it's a concern that it might lead to leakage or theft of a weapon.
Yeah, thank you. And recently we have seen increased and new tension between the United States and Russia. Could that lead to another nuclear arms race between the two powers with the greatest nuclear weapons on Earth?
I don't think a build-up to the numbers we saw during the Cold War, but it may create incentives for the two sides to modernize their forces. The Russians, indeed, because they have a demographic problem, and their conventional forces are not what they were during the Cold War period. They view nuclear weapons as an important component of their strategy. But overall, the Russians have been helpful in the Iran negotiations. They were helpful with Syria on the reaching agreement to dismantle and remove Syria, the Syrian regime, Assad regime's chemical weapons stockpile. So Russia is acting as a great power on its periphery to the concern of the West, but in certain areas where its interests coincide with the West, and its interests with respect to Iran are complicated, but it has been helpful within the multilateral negotiations.
Thank you. And apart from the United States, there are two Western powers with nuclear weapons, Britain and France. Does that make sense? I mean, can these countries afford their nuclear weapons, and does it make strategic sense, or should they really get rid and really step ahead with, and should prove to be a good example?
Well, that would be welcome. I mean, the question of the role of these nuclear weapons in strategy now. They may feel with Putin and the uncertainties about that they need their own nuclear deterrent just as a hedge against uncertainty about what the United States might do. So I think actually, I hadn't thought through this question kind of in advance, that the events in eastern Ukraine may make nuclear disarmament in Britain and France less likely than if there was a Pacific Russia to their east.
But it probably would be unlikely in any case, I guess.
I guess an alternative would be, could it become a European Union weapon rather than a national weapon in Britain and France? But I doubt Britain and France would want to give up their unique standing.
I think you may well be right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Robert Litvak. Thank you very much for your insights. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Klaus, for having me.